Hello everyone, CatWeazle here, welcome to the channel and welcome back to our playthrough of Perdition's Mouth and Abyssal Rift, where we're just about to start episode 6. But just before we do, I've got to go through something from last episode. We've been having a discussion on BGG about difficult terrain and movement, and I got the wrong end of the stick. Now, most of what I said last episode was fine, apart from failure penalties. I got failure penalties wrong, so apologies for that. So, failure penalties, they apply when you go into difficult terrain under certain circumstances and you have to pay the failure penalty for that particular type of terrain. Now, this doesn't affect insectoids because they completely ignore difficult terrain. As I mentioned, they've got loads of legs and stuff. But the heroes and the humanoid cultists have problems with difficult terrain. Now, what I mentioned about the cultists, in that they can move on to difficult terrain and then their movement stops, that was right. They can use one movement point to get onto difficult terrain and then they just sort of stop. What I got wrong was failure penalties. So if you move on to difficult terrain and you're not an insectoid, under certain circumstances you will take a failure penalty. Now, enemies, if they intentionally move onto difficult terrain, which they're allowed to do, they're allowed to use that one movement point, they're fine. So I got that wrong. So this guy could have moved into the water intentionally. I suppose he's just looking where he's going, he steps in, he doesn't take that damage. Similarly, if it was rubble, he would move one space into rubble and stop. But not because of the failure penalty. It's because that's all he's allowed to do. It's not a failure penalty that he stops his movement. It's just because that is what difficult terrain does to cultists. It's got nothing to do with the failure penalty. So I think that's where I got a bit confuzzled. So he could have actually stepped into here, not took a failure penalty, not took an extra wound, and he'd have been fine because he's 1, 2, 3 away from Tyra. So that is what he would have done. Now, we've been fortunate because it wouldn't have affected gameplay. Tyra did have 2 action points left. All she'd have done is spent one of those action points. She'd have moved up one. She would have then been in range. She would have then caved his skull in. So we did manage to get rid of him. So that was pretty lucky. The only difference is she's now stood here rather than here. So we've sorted that out. As far as heroes and difficult terrain goes, again, just stopping in difficult terrain is fine. You do not get a failure penalty. The only way that it really affects heroes is if you have enemies within one of you, then it becomes dangerous terrain and you've got to pick a response card. If you get an eye on it, then the failure penalty for that particular type of terrain will be incurred. Oh, and one other way of enemies or heroes incurring a failure penalty is if they get pushed into a space that has difficult terrain. That's different than moving intentionally. So if you get pushed in by an enemy model or by a hero model, then obviously they're shoving you into the difficult terrain and you are not looking where you're going, you're just getting shoved, so you will take the failure penalty. So again, apologies for that. I just got a bit confuzzled. We were having a discussion on BGG and I think I've got it the wrong way around, so apologies for that. But now we've got that sorted out, let's carry on. And the first things first, let's move into episode 6 and the hero phase. And here we are at the hero phase. First things first, we have got to take this little beauty off the board. This is the defense token that Olazabal had. It's the end of the turn, we've started a new turn, so this disappears. So we'll get rid of that. And who is going to be our first player? Before we decide that, let's twizz these round so we know that all our 3 heroes have yet to take their go. So who will go first? Well, I think what we've got to make sure is we've got to make sure that Elisa is going to be safe. She is currently in range. And if these guys get a move and attack, then she's going to be well within range. So we want to stop that, I think. So I think what we'll do is we will start moving her away. We have a Olazabal in the way here. So, mind you, she could attack. She does have her Elvish Dagger. I'll tell you what we'll do is, I want to attack because I want to kill some of these. But let's sort of try and attack and try and, you know, mitigate at the same time. We'll move out of range. She's here. Yeah, she can get to charge. Charge means she can move and attack. So, yes, Elisa will go first. She's got 5 action points. Let's get to the Stone of Destiny here. And she'll use 1, 2, 3 to go on to charge. Now, charge says nothing about you actually have to move towards any enemies. So I think we're fine in actually moving away. We've got 2 action points left out of her pool of 5. So she could go 1, 2, and then attack. And I think that is what we'll do. So 1, 2. So she's moved, so we can't commit any more cards to movement. But now we're on the charge part, which is our attack. So if we attack with Elvish Dagger, that is 3. We'll attack with Elvish Dagger, which gives us 3. This guy has 2 defense. So are we going to add anything to that? Let's have a look. Can we be helped? In fact, we can be helped. We can be helped by Olazabal. Now, that is 1, 2, 3 away. But if we play engineering, which you can use to aid on the combat part of charge. Now, normally it's a 2, but it's 5 for aiding purposes. Minus 1, 2, 3. So it ends up being a 2, but that's all we want. So that'll give us 5 attack. 5 attack versus this guy, which has got 2 defense. Yes, that seems good enough. So that is what we'll do. Just to go through that quickly again, because Olazabal is so far away, obviously you take a penalty for each range you are away. So it'll be -3. But engineering is +5 for aiding. So we'll play that. That will give us 5 attack. Hopefully 5 attack, because we have a look at Elisa's player card. She is a diva. So hard. Whenever another hero aids you, draw a response when you resolve the action. If it has an eye, that hero's aid is reduced to 0. So let's hope that we do not get an eye. So here's the response card. And it didn't have an eye. Thought that was an eye, then it's just a blood smudge. So that's fine. She's decided to accept her aid. How gracious of her. So we are going to get 5. We're attacking this guy. So he gets to pull. So it is 5 versus 2. And we get a +2, which isn't good enough. So that's brilliant. So that ends up as 5 versus 4. This guy takes another wound. Brilliant. We've managed to kill another of these guys. That is fantastic. Another guard gone. So let's discard both of these. In fact, I have to remember now, we're pretty much through. There isn't much left in the response deck, and we haven't had a +3 yet, so we'll have to bear that in mind. Engineering, that goes into Olazabal's discard. And the Elvish Dagger, because we've put a wound on the guard, goes back into Elisa's hand. So that was really, really good. Well done, Elisa. And she's moved quite a bit out of range here, so hopefully she'll be fine. That is it for Elisa, so let's turn that inside. And who is going to go next? I think we will have Tyra go next. And here we are with Tyra. And what is Tyra going to do? Well, I think she's going to move. I think that is what we've got to do. We've got to start getting sort of across here. Plus, it'll help if she's in the vicinity to sort of mop up any of these guys. So, it's not as critical as it was now that Elisa's managed to kill that cultist there. But I think we'll still move. So, that is 1, 2, 3. Let's go down to the movement segment here. And first of all, we get to pick a card. And we get Call for Help. Reaction. Play during your turn. Heroes may aid you to the end of this hero phase. Ah, yes. This is the card she can play to actually get aid. And she would draw an additional card. The friend warns his friend of ill. So, there you go. Right. So, there we've got Call for Help. Very nice. So we spent 3 action points on moving on the Stone of Destiny. We've got 2 left. And we'll just use those 2 for the movement. And we'll go 1, 2. So it is a bit of a pity we had to move 1 extra one. Because I would have liked to have got her here. Right in front of Elisa. But them's the breaks. Okay, so that is it for Tyra's go. Flick that in. Next up, it has to be Olazabal. And here we are with Olazabal. So what's Olazabal going to do? Well, there's not a great deal to do, to be honest. You know, could go on to charge, but then we're having a laugh trying to get across here. He doesn't have much range. So, shall we just move her a bit closer to that door? We could rest, but she hasn't got that many cards in a discard. So it doesn't seem much point in that. There's no point in bash. Could move, I suppose. So 1, 2, 3, 4. But that would use all of her movement points. She'd have no action points left and have to play a card. I'll tell you what, we will rest. So we'll spend 1, 2 action points to rest. And yes, that's what we're going to do. Now, when you're resting, you cannot aid or be aided. But you do get to put all your discarded cards back in your deck. So we've discarded, what have we done? Gasoline, grease and engineering all go back into this deck. Her hand size is currently 4. So that's fine. I don't think they go back into the deck, the ones that you've got in your hand. It's just the discards. And we'll do a cut. So there we go. These are all ready to rock and roll again. Is there anything else we can do while we're resting? I'll just check, because remember, she is at 4 hit points. She can go up to 5. So let's just check if she can get anything back. No, only if you're resting on a space with a flea mattress. She's not, so she will not get that hit point back. Oh, we must draw hero cards until our hand equals our starting hand size, but it's at 4. That is her starting hand size. Oh no, her starting hand size is 5. So we do get an extra card. I forgot, did we use grit? I think we used grit, didn't we? So, oh, she gets pull back then to get her up to a starting hand of 5, which is a special. You may immediately move up to 3 action points of movement at no cost. Then, 1 hero within 2, and that's a red number, so it can be boosted, and line of sight of you regains 1 hit point. Not all technology is deadly. That's a pretty good card, so glad to have that. So as part of resting, discards went back into the deck. They were all shuffled in. She only had 4 in her hand, so she had to draw another card to get up to her starting hand size, and she got pulled back. And that is it for Olazabal. So let's point that inwards, and that is the end of the hero phase. So next up, it is the enemy phase. And here we are at the enemy phase. Now this might be a bit bad. The reason is we are running out of cards in the deck. We've got quite a big discard now, and we haven't had any of them +3 cards. Because if we got a +3, it'd be 1, 2, 3. So we get attack, move, attack. This is when, you know, when you get high numbers, this is when this Watchstone really kicks in. But we'll see what we get. Here we are. A +2. Whew. But a +3 is coming down the line. So a +2 means we move the green bead 1, 2. We've got an attack, then a move. Red goes to attack. Well, that's fortunate because nothing is in range. So doesn't get to attack. It's round the corner. Even if we hadn't killed this guy, oh, he would have got an attack. He'd have got an attack on Tyra. 1, 2, 3. But if the Cultist guard had still been here, I probably wouldn't have moved Tyra to there. I might have just moved her here. So, but anyway, there is no guard, so it doesn't matter. Nobody's in range, so nobody gets attacked. Let's move the bead on. It goes to the movement segment. So everybody gets to move. As mentioned previously, that means our acolyte goes first. He's going to head towards the exit. 1, 2. So that's pretty good. And then it's this guy. Now he needs to get within 3. So if he moves here, then 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So I think, just check whether it's nearest first, because it's whether he stays here or goes here. I'll just check that in the rule book. I'm back. Right, just had a look. The priorities are closest hero. This guy is closest. Tyra's closest. Then it had been weakest hero, which is Elisa. So he's just going to move in to here. Yeah, so he's going to move there to there. The reason being 1, 2, 3. Cultist guards like to keep at a range of 3. So he's going to stay here, and he's got his blowpipe and he's aiming it at Tyra. So that is the end of the movement. And that is the end of the enemy phase and the end of episode 6. So, quite a good episode. We actually managed to kill another cultist guard. And we've sort of set ourselves up nicely for getting out of the door. So we will pretty much try and scoot out of the door next turn, or certainly get a lot nearer to the door. We don't want to be hanging around. We want to get on to level 2. Perhaps have a go at killing this guy. Again, funnily enough, Elisa is the person who's just killing everybody. That elvish dagger is brilliant. It's just such a brilliant ranged weapon. Well, at least against cultists. Yeah, because they're quite easy. It wouldn't be as good against insectoids. They have got much better defence. But against cultists, it's like it's a beast of a weapon. So she might be able to get another attack in, for example. If not, we can always scoot her across here, and Tyra can mop up these guys. Let's get Olazabal right next to the door, and we'll see how we go on. Hopefully within next episode or the episode after, we will actually manage to leave this level, and then we will be ready for level 2. Let's get rid of that. As mentioned, we don't have many of these cards left now, these response cards. There is a +3 in there somewhere. I think, in fact, there's 2. And there is a shuffle the deck card. So let's move on. Let's move on. Let's try and get out of this level. We've done a bit of combat, but let's get onto a harder level and see how this game really kicks in. So we'll try and do that next episode. I might do 2 turns and see if we can actually get out of this level. So that is the end of episode 6. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for all the subscriptions, thanks for all the likes, and thanks for watching. And of course, if you've noticed an error, please let me know and I will try and fix it and try and get the rules right. But as I say, it is my first playthrough, so don't judge me too harshly, please. And we'll see how we go on, and I'll try and fix any errors that I do make. Thanks very much to anybody who's been across the Board Game Links to upvote the site. That is much appreciated, thank you. And as ever, everybody on BGG who's been liking any of the videos or posting any comments, thanks to you as well. I hope you join me for episode 7 of Perdition's Mouth, Abyssal Rift. But until then, this is me, CatWeazle, signing off. Toodaloo.